welcome everyone. Welcome to Standup Sitdown podcast series 2. So today would be episode 3, Beyond the Arena. Good day and welcome to today's podcast that is specially brought to you by Secretariat Sukarelawan USMKK. So whether you have been the past audience or this would be your first time, I would like to welcome all of you all. Welcome and welcome. I'm Nathan Ilanggowan and together with me would be my co-host.
Hey everyone, I'm Janipa Nanathan and I feel really glad to be here with y'all today. So, to begin with, I'd like to ask a quick question which might feel a little too relatable, which is, have you ever told yourself that you want to start exercising tomorrow but then that tomorrow never really comes?
Maybe that you are just not too lazy, you are just exhausted, overwhelmed, or simply just be less motivated.
So, the real question here is, are we lazy or are we just demotivated?
And that's what we are going to be exploring in today's episode of Beyond the Arena. And today, we are joined by someone who's really special in USM, who would really be able to understand from both perspective of a real life as well as scientific perspective.
He's a lecturer in exercise and also sports science, and we are really honored to have him here with us today.
So without further ado, please join us in welcoming in Mr. Nurul Azuar bin Hamzah.
Thank you so much for joining us here today, sir. We are very excited to have this conversation with you.
Before we begin, just a quick disclaimer for all of y'all. This session is not to judge anyone, but just to explore in detail what is this topic is more about.
Instead, it's about understanding the deeper reasons on why some people might suffer in keeping themselves active.
To start off, sir, would you like to introduce yourself and explain on what are your challenges and share a bit your journey in this field?
Yeah, first of all, thank you to our two hosts, Jaya and Essen. And thank you to the organizer for inviting me into this podcast session. Okay, first of all, I think it's better for me if I can introduce a bit about myself. Okay, my name is Nurul Azuar bin Hamzah, and you guys can call me Mr. Azuar lah. On daily conversation, normally the students call me Sir. My experience teaching in this field is almost 20 years. Okay, since 2006 until now, I am under School of Health Science under the program Exercise and Sport Science. So my field area of interest is sport exercise psychology. So my job normally focus on teaching this subject. I mean teaching the exercise and sport psychology for sport science students. And I also involved in research related to this area. Apart from my academic works, I also involved in other non-academic activities as well. And I always keep myself active lah. For example, like I try to engage with regular physical activity because in USM we have a very good environment for doing exercise. In terms of my physical activity, I like to do running. Apart from my academic jobs, I also involved in some non-academic activities. For example, like I enjoy running and I try to keep myself active. At least I do exercise 3 times a week. I also represent university in the athletic event. For example, like last 2 years, I participated in Sukan Staff at university level, and then my event was athletic. I think my involvement in both, academic and non-academic activities, somehow I think that I can share with all of you, especially with the topic that we are going to talk after this. And I think the topic given is interesting. When we talk about exercise, when we talk about physical activity, normally people start to say, okay, I don't want to do physical activity because I feel lazy. But does the lazy is a correct word to use when we are talking about this situation?
It was completely interesting. Degree in biomed and masters in sports science. That was 2 complete different fields, which was really interesting, sir. Right, thank you so much, sir, for the introduction.
So here's a quick heads up for our guests. So we prepared a few segments which include questions, fun interactive segments, and I hope you're ready for that.
And those segments are really informative, relevant, and also fun.
Alright, without further ado, let's move on to our first segment, lazy versus demotivated, shall we?
Alright, let's begin with our first question. From your perspective, sir, Can someone appear lazy on the outside, but they're actually dealing with some kind of burnout or mental fatigue?
Thank you for the question. So when we say the word lazy, okay, we must understand why it's actually lazy. Okay, if I ask you, what is lazy?
Procrastination.
Okay, maybe you are referring, lazy as procrastination. But lazy is an attitude. Demotivated is another thing. So when you are talking about people who do not engage in physical activity, because in today's podcast, we are talking about physical activity. I don't want to talk about, any other matters that is not related to physical activity. So if you talk about physical activity, you cannot simply label people when they do not exercise. You cannot simply say that that person is lazy to do exercise, because motivation is a word that comes from the word motive. Motive means reason. Okay, so you do exercise, you do any activity, you must have reason behind it. If you talk about exercise, I believe that all of us have our own reason why we are doing exercise, why we don't want to do exercise, why we want to skip exercise. We must have our own reason. Whether the reason is personal, means that it is from our own self, or maybe because the reason is because of the environmental factors. So those are the types of reason that we might give when someone asks you why you don't involve in exercise. So like I said just now, the word motive, right? Motive is a force, okay? It's a force. So when you are doing an activity, of course you need a force to drive you, to direct you in doing and sustaining that activity. Same goes to exercise. Because exercise, some people might think that, okay, exercise is easy thing to do. But for some people, they might feel that exercise is not a simple thing, right? So in order for people to keep doing exercise, they need motivation, and then they need to understand what are their motives. Because exercise is you choose to do exercise. It's a participatory choices. You choose to participate in exercise. Same like other activity. For example, like you have a lot of activities to do, but you know that you are unable to focus to all activities, right? You must have things or activities that you choose to do that normally related with your interests. Okay, if you don't have interest, if you think that the activity is not related with you, then you will end up not doing that at all. So when you end up not doing that at all, means that you are not motivated. You are having, in psychology term, we call it amotivation. You don't have motivation to do the activity. Not because you don't want to do it. Maybe you feel that that activity is not related with your interest. Because for us, we choose activity that can provide something that we can show our competency. That's normal for us as a human being. We involve in the activity where we can show our competency. Exercise also, for some people, is a medium for them to show their competency, their ability, right? Because when we talk about exercise, it's not like, you know the difference between the exercise and your normal physical activity, right? Because exercise is more structured, like your daily normal activity, you do the house chores, something like that. Basically, you don't aware about the objectives of doing that activity. But when we are talking about exercise, normally we can associate activity with objectives. We know what we want to achieve. For example, like you exercise because you want to reduce your body weight. Many people tell when we ask you why you do exercise, because I want to look better. I want to cut my fat, for example. Alright, so by having that reasons, people will get motivated to do exercise. So the rules is they must know what are their motives. Okay?
I think that was very relatable, especially for students like us who always keep ourselves busy and we always have something to come up with. We always give reasons why should not participate in exercise.
Yeah. Alright, so moving on to our next segment, which would be relatable struggles. So, sir, I would like to ask, why do so many people start working out but they fail to stay consistent? Like even my friend, at the first week of going gym, he would be consistent, but the following week, the consistency decreases. Why is that, sir?
Yeah, like what I mentioned just now, it's about competency. But I forgot to mention one more thing, it's about mastery. Okay, mastery is about when you involve in one activity, you're aware that activity is a medium for you to demonstrate your personal growth. Means that you can get that experience when you are doing an activity. Like answer question just now, people start exercise but they cannot sustain it for long term, right? Apart from the motives, okay, a person regardless who they are, they student or they are working adults like me. Of course, we got barriers, okay? We got barriers. It's not like, you start with something and then you can do it forever. There must be a one time where you attract with that barrier, and then because of that, for some reason, you stop doing that activity at all. Okay, so basically when we talk about a question, if I can highlight the question you asked me just now, exercise is like a cycle. The behavior, the exercise behavior is like a cycle. Okay, first, normally people start to think whether the exercise benefits them or not. If they think the exercise benefits them, then they will likely to engage with the behavior. They will likely to change the behavior. For example, like from non-active to become active lah. After they change the behavior, before they start doing exercise, of course they have thoughts in their mind, especially when they are about to start the exercise. They will start to weigh whether, doing exercise will give them benefits or opposite lah, cannot benefit them. Alright? Of course, when the people start exercise, there are another barrier pula. Okay? There are another barrier that might happen. Throughout the journey of exercise too. Okay, for example, examination, you're busy, you have other commitments, your academic, you have examination, you need to focus on your study, right? Or maybe your health is not good, okay, you got ill. Okay, so those are the barriers that are common. And now, of course, students, they do have their own barriers, right? What are the main barriers that you know as a student?
Schedules and also managing their time.
Yeah.
For academics and also their health.
Yeah, they have their time management. Sometimes they want to do exercise, okay, but the time doesn't permit them to. Even though exercise, you don't have to spend like 1 hour or 2 hours. Maybe you just need 30 minutes. But still, people find it's difficult for them to give their commitment. So because of that, even though you already active, but at some point you might drop into the non-active state as well. Right.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. So, adding on to that, for someone who has not been doing exercise or not being active for a very long time, what could possibly be the most reliable and sustainable way in order to start back without feeling overwhelmed?
Okay. Okay, to answer your question, that's a tricky one. Like what I said just now, when we are dealing with something, okay, we need to know whether we have autonomy or not. The word autonomy, it means that you have ability to control the process or not. The same goes to when we talk about, people who want to start again exercise. But sometimes people has already pick up what exercise they want to do, okay? But it doesn't mesh with their interests, okay? Or maybe it doesn't fix with their autonomy. They feel that they don't have ability to control the situation. Controlling the situation is important when we talk about motivation, because when you have sense of self-control, then you will feel confident about doing that particular activity, including exercise. Okay, so you know that you can control the process and then you know that you are responsible with the outcomes, then your motivation will start to increase. So first of all, if we meet person who are having issue like what you mentioned just now, normally we advise that person to think again, okay, whether the exercise suit with their interest or not, whether they can control, for example, like in terms of time management. Sometimes, people come and see me and they ask me, what are the type of exercise suitable for them? I can't give an exact answer because it's up to that person. Sometimes we ask that person to do running or jogging, but it's not suitable with their interest. It's not suitable with their autonomy. Okay, they cannot control. They cannot find suitable time, for example, to do jogging because of their busy schedule, for example. So first of all, you need to make sure that people know how to choose exercise that are most suitable with them in terms of relatedness as well as autonomy. Okay, so when people come to you, you must advise them that way lah. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. So now let's switch things up a little. So moving on to the third segment, which would be science and myth busting. Can you share some, sir, with us like common fitness myths that might actually discourage or even demotivate people? Like for example, sir, in like bodybuilding field, they say like you need 1 year, or there is a myth that you really need whey protein in order to build a body. Those are really myths, right, sir? So is there any other common fitness myths that sir know that you would like to say that might actually demotivate or discourage people from actually venturing into fitness field?
Yeah. Talking about the myths, I think what I can highlight is maybe some people think that in order for you to do exercise, you need to go in a formal way. Because when we talk about physical activity, it's not necessary for you to like a standard exercise lah. Okay, like you go jogging, you go cycling, you go swimming. You need to really prepare yourself to perform the activity. But if you don't have time, actually, you can just walk from your room, from hostel, and then you walk down to a concert, for example. Those activity can be considered as your physical activity already. So you don't have to really bersiap lah. You don't have to prepare yourself when you think about doing exercise. Okay. Another thing is about the time. Some people think that exercise you need to spend long time, long duration for doing exercise. It's not necessarily correct lah. But of course lah, when you are doing exercise, please do not just spend like 5 minutes for exercise. Of course, you need to go longer, right? At least 50 minutes. Okay, but some people think that doing exercise you need to do for long duration. Okay, at least 50 minutes lah. But the best advisable recommended 30 minutes. So if you can spend like 30 minutes minimum, I think is already enough to keep fit and healthy. Okay, another thing I want to highlight is about exercise. When people think exercise need to be done every day, exercise you don't have to do every day. You need to give yourself a rest day as well. Okay, like you have 7 days in a week, right? So on Sunday you exercise. On Monday you can switch the exercise, or maybe you can make it as your rest day. And then on Tuesday you can continue the exercise. Maybe Wednesday you do another type of exercise, because exercise can be different type of exercise, right? You can do like cardiovascular exercise, and then you must focus also on building your muscle strength. Means that you need to involve in your resistance exercise as well. So that's why exercise is not only focus on one type of exercise. So you must try to make it various lah. Okay, and then don't forget to give yourself a rest day. Okay, 7 days in a week, maybe 5 days you spend for exercise, 2 days for rest. Okay, maybe 4 days for exercise, 3 days for rest. Enough.
Thank you so much for the insight, sir. So, moving on to the next question. Are there times when our body naturally resists exercise due to various factors? It could be due to lack of sleep, stress, or even mental fatigue.
You know what? Whenever you feel stressed, it is good for you to go exercise. Okay. People think stress, stop exercise. Not like that actually. If you stress, you go for exercise because it gives you, have you heard the word catharsis? Catharsis effect. So means that you release your aggression. Okay, so normally when we stress, inside our body, normally we feel that we are more aggressive. Okay, so basically you need something to release your aggressiveness. So when you stress, your mind get distracted, for example. It's actually good for you if you can go exercise so that you can release all the negative thoughts, all the distraction. Have you seen like someone like, when they feel angry, they start pushing or punching object. That's a way for that person to release their stress. The right exercise, punching is exercise, right? So whenever you feel stressed, please go exercise, okay? Because exercise will help the body to produce dopamine, the positive hormone. It can make you improve your sleep. Because I know students, many of them they sleep late at night. Maybe one of the factor because they are not exhausted enough lah. Okay, so you go exercise and I can guarantee it can help you to sleep better. Okay, and then you are ready for the next day. All right.
Right, sir. Moving on to the next segment, which would be fun question. So, do you prefer 50 minutes exercise daily or allocating 1 hour once a week? Which one is better?
Okay, first of all, you need to ask your body lah, whether you can cope with because exercise is about intensity. Okay, if you do exercise but you don't meet the recommended intensity, theoretically it is useless lah. It still gives you benefit but might be not that optimum lah. Okay, so recommendation 150 minutes per week. Let's say that you do exercise, for one session 30 minutes, mean that you need to spend 5 days, 5 sessions for exercise. If you spend exercise 50 minutes per session, then you need only 3 sessions or 3 days per week for you to complete that 150 minutes. Okay, so you guys must remember lah, this is the recommendation by the Sports Science Society, so you can follow this. Okay, like what you said just now, 50 minutes every day daily, or 1 hour once a week. I think the best way is you need to follow the recommendation, that 150 minutes per week. So like 50 minutes for me is not enough. Okay, you feel like the time moves very fast, right? Yeah, same goes to exercise lah. You exercise for 50 minutes, especially for the aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise, you need to spend longer time, because when we start exercise, the major source of energy comes from glucose, right? Our blood glucose, right? So for the fat to start to metabolize, normally it takes more than 20 minutes. Okay, so basically you need to do exercise at least 20 minutes to activate that fat metabolism. Okay, because a lot of us, of course, one of our purpose in doing exercise, we want to keep our body composition at the optimal level, right? Once you do exercise, make sure that you spend within the recommended duration. That's what I can say.
Okay, so I think we have already reached our final segment for today. I really hope our audience are still here with us. So, moving on to the next question. For extremely busy individuals, especially even students here in VSMKK, what could be the simplest yet effective way in order to stay active?
Okay, for you guys, I believe that, especially the medic students, because they need to go for the work round, right? To attend their daily classes, lectures, everything. So it must be difficult for them to find right time for them to do exercise, right? So my advice is, like I said just now, you don't have to think exercise as a formal activity. So like you're walking from your hostel to the hospital, for example, you can consider that as your exercise. And then try to find an exercise activity that is accessible for you. Okay, what is accessible for you here in our campus? Walking. You cannot do swimming because we don't have swimming pool here in our campus, even though, some people, they might prefer swimming than other activities, right? But they cannot do that. But talking about our environment in this campus, our exercise facilities, I used to ask my students about this, whether they stay satisfied or not with what we have in this campus with regards to the exercise facilities. Most of them say that they do not satisfy. Okay, but for myself personally, I think our environment is good enough actually to motivate people doing exercise. I look around this campus. We got the running, jogging track in our campus. We got courts. We got every sports, you name it. Volleyball, basketball, badminton. So in terms of the sport facilities, I think it is well equipped in this campus. You agree with me?
Alright, sir. So the final question, sir. Would you like to say it in a very short and sweet term for people who still say, I'm just too lazy? What do you like to say to them, sir?
Okay. First of all, you need to avoid the word lazy lah. Okay, sometimes, when you say lazy, it's very negative, right? You say someone lazy, people start thinking negatively. So when I did my postgrad, I think like many years ago, my supervisor, he never used the word lazy. He preferred to use the word demotivated. Because when you are not doing something, or you feel like you don't want to do a task or an activity, it's actually not because you are lazy. but it's actually because you are demotivated doing that activity. Okay, so first thing first, most important is you need to avoid using that word lazy lah. Okay, because if you say lazy, it means that you're not doing anything at all, right? But still, you can give your commitment, you can focus on other activities, even though it is not exercise activity. Okay, so please avoid the word lazy and then change it to demotivated because it sounds more positive. Because demotivated, you can change. Demotivated to motivated. The only thing is you need to find what are your motives doing that. And then it will be more easier. It will be easier for you to change the behavior from non-active to active. You see lazy, then lazy, you're not doing anything lah. Okay, like you are sitting, you are sleeping, you don't have any motivation.
Right, that was really insightful. So before wrapping things up, I'd like to really thank Sir here for sharing us the most valuable insights. And here we have a small token of appreciation for you, Sir.
So I think I'm gonna start exercising after this podcast. So maybe after this I would be trying to do more physical activity after Sir's insight on about the exercise topic. So remember, you don't have to do everything. You just have to start with something.
Yeah, even a 10 minutes walk would do.
So next time, don't say lazy. Say you are demotivated. So that's all from us. See you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.